across the ceiling valleys, through the transient void, and out from the dark cavern that connects to the innards of the earth, is a gentle wind met by the cold icy chill of the forgotten and hostile landscape of the iciest, windiest, coldest, and driest continent. There, Behemoth is trudging through the ice. This isn't where he preferred to make his home, but surprisingly, it doesn't affect him. The very chilly and sharp bite of the wind only seems to create a mild itch under his very thick coat. 3 mastodon kaiju, who are all females, drag some lumber behind them. Behemoth points to a cliff face and instructs the females to carry it over there.
I think that ought to do it.
The 3rd mastodon female kaiju stops and looks after her friends, and looks back towards Behemoth, smiling coyly. So, Behemoth, when are we gonna meet that son of yours?
He's coming. Well, he's supposed to be coming to this festive arrangement. Why?
Well, my daughter can use a nice man.
Didn't your daughter already have a lot of men? And ain't none of them nice.
The mastodon uses her large, long trunk, much longer than that of Behemoth's, and slaps him in mock outrage on his shoulder. Her trunk making impact with his tough body makes her realize how tall he is in comparison to her and even the largest males in her group. Behemoth! Oh, you better watch that mouth of yours. I have a mind to take off what's left of your ears.
Trust me, Connie, the last thing your daughter needs is more males. I swear she's got a whole hanger full of them.
Oh, my granny, Behemoth, you are being so rude.
I guess you could say that, but you're being way too lenient. Maybe if you'd spend more time telling your daughter to close all 4 of her legs, you wouldn't be having this much trouble trying to hook her up with males.
Despite his light-hearted, passive-aggressive, and somewhat very aggressive insults, Connie smiles, completely blinded by her infatuation of him. Behemoth, over here, says Scylla. The spidery-legged, squid-faced kaiju calls over Behemoth to the area where she's standing.
Pardon me, ma'am?
Your pardon, for now, Connie says, looking longingly at Behemoth. Behemoth walks over to where Scylla is standing and looks around. Scylla lifts one of her long, thin legs and points to the top of a cliff face right next to them. Do you see it? She says, looking at Behemoth, waiting for him to answer.
I have no idea what in the fart you're talking about. My eyesight is going. I mean, it's not as bad as Methuselah's, but all I see is white.
Oh, but my friend, you have to envision it. You see, these long cliff face sides, they have these ledges on them that you can use to decorate. You can have these long streamers coming down to make it look like flexible icicles.
Why on earth would we need icicles to look flexible? Wouldn't it be hella confusing? See over there? I can see those. Them are real icicles. Why do we need people feeling safe knowing that there's flexible icicles around when there are also real icicles around that can impale them? Don't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me, and it just seems to be a recipe for disaster if you ask me.
Don't worry, my friend. We will have them out of the way of danger. Speaking of icicles, Mothra did have a point last year.
Oh, what was her point? That water kaiju can come to the celebration because most of them will turn to ice cubes?
No, that we can use the environment to make the celebration even more natural and more immersive. It'll be fun.
Will it now? Just make sure there's a lot of spirits going around. If you can supply a hefty amount of that, anything will be fun for these kaiju.
Back down in the Hollow Earth, Methuselah is inhabiting one of his homes there. He hasn't felt the need to go back up to his cave for a while. Especially this time of year, he wants to do anything else but be alone. Besides, in this home, there's way more space for him to cook all of his favorite meals and to host as many guests as possible. Marley runs in, almost slipping over her long legs, getting jumbled into each other to come see him. Hi, Methuselah! I got the ingredients!
Oh, well, thank you, Marley. Just set them down right there.
So, Methuselah, I was thinking...
What's that?
I know that we usually have, a celebration for, different families and, our immediate families, but with everything that's happened this past year, I was thinking that maybe we should have, this super big celebration.
Oh, well, I don't see anything particularly wrong with that.
Yeah, we can invite all the kaiju, not just from our region, but from the other regions as well.
You think that's a good idea? I know that Godzilla specifically has a specific list where he has excluded certain...
No, but Godzilla isn't here! Methuselah stops stirring his pot and gives Marley a look. She's close enough that he can see her smiling in a very mischievous way.
You've been planning this from the beginning, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. I already gave Scylla some pointers. I think that it's gonna be cool having it in the ice world, but maybe we could have it here and bring the ice world to the Hollow Earth.
Oh, that sounds magical, doesn't it? And how do you expect to do that? Are you going to transport many tons of snow and ice into the Hollow Earth?
Well, sort of, but I think Leo can handle that, because he and his team are really good with simulations and stuff, and I'm sure if he can make things, like, come alive, then he can make ice in the Hollow Earth.
Well, we already have icy places in the Hollow Earth.
Yeah, but those are aggressive kaiju that make it like that, and nobody can talk to them. They don't even speak our language.
My dear girl, every kaiju speaks the same language, sort of.
Not those guys. They just go... and that's it. Methuselah looks at Marley and smiles.
What on earth was that?
That's how they sound. I'm not even kidding. Marley sees Behemoth and Scylla coming in, shaking off their bodies. She runs to them and hooks one of her front legs around Scylla's and drags her to the side. Scylla almost falls over, not used to moving as quickly and clumsily like Marley. Scylla, I know you're planning the get-togethers, but what if we have one big party for all the kaiju from all the surrounding regions? What do you mean? Bringing us together instead of having different parties at different locations. Oh, Marley, but the wonderful thing about having different locations, so you can leave one party for a different experience. Scylla uses her tentacles on her face to clean her back legs, while she comes to a stop alongside Marley. Marley, you are such a tender soul, and I understand what you're trying to do, but kaiju kind are extremely diversified. Yeah, but many have been so long at odds with one another, and this is the only time out of the year where we can come together and celebrate each other's differences, or choose not to altogether. The ice kaiju, the jungle kaiju, the deep sea kaiju, the middle sea kaiju, the eclipse kaiju, the inner earth kaiju who has never been on the surface, and it is against their religion. They each have a main locations, 4 different sects of individuals who choose to celebrate in their respective way. I know, but don't you think that... Marley turns her back to Scylla to climb onto a nearby rock as bits of it crumble to the ground. Marley looks into the distance at the peaks from both the ceiling and floor of the Hollow Earth that barely touch each other. Don't you think that helps keep us apart? For most of the year and most of our lives, we spend so much time apart in each of our own bubbles. Trust me, I know more than a lot of people how easy it is to be casted out and made fun of because of the difference in my culture or beliefs. Marley. Scylla, we don't have to do this every year, but I think now is a great time for us to actually put our differences aside and come together. Maybe sometime later we can pick a different location for everybody to be at, like, I don't know, like, take turns. We have to learn to be among each other, or, I don't know, at least learn how to be. It's not that simple, Marley. You have to also remember that some of the kaiju feed on other species that you're too inviting to that location. Well, we have security. Security is sparse because of the situation with Godzilla's vault. Scylla, Marley says as she jumps down from the rock and shakes the dust off her carapace. She stands right in front of Scylla and looks into her eyes. I hear what you're saying. This isn't going to be every year or all the time, but I think right now we need a united front. Maybe more of the kaiju are not friends because they don't know how to talk to each other. This doesn't just have to be a way for us to celebrate each other's differences or similarities, but to also take on the responsibility, both you and I and some of our friends, to help enemy kaiju understand each other. Scylla smiles. Oh, Marley. Okay. Marley squeals with excitement. There is, however, one condition. What is it? Godzilla has specific enemies. We cannot invite them. No matter how nice they seem or how you want this to go, this is treason according to Godzilla. Oh, can we give them gifts? Going to them is the same as declaring war, as there are clear boundaries that Godzilla and those kaiju are expected not to cross. But I thought Godzilla could go anywhere. Oh, he can, but he does not want to have to. In a rainforest, somewhere on the surface. Over the next few days, Scylla, Methuselah, Behemoth, and some other kaiju start to put together the big celebration that would be held in the Hollow Earth. But this time, it's not in the normal hall where there are usually elegant gatherings. It will be in an all-new place that was previously used for storage. A sizable opening that connects the caverns that stretches for kilometers. Methuselah is dragging a large caravan behind him filled with his prep dishes, the little cabs all tied to each other one behind the other. Marley goes up to meet him. Hey, old man!
Hello, insolent child.
Wow, is that what you've done so far? Marley says in astonishment and excitement. Methuselah keeps walking at a steady pace, pulling against the resistance of his own weight and that of the burden.
Oh, well, this is the third batch of what I've made.
Seriously, I don't understand how you do all this by yourself.
Experience and prowess.
Methuselah says, proudly lifting his head up momentarily in pride.
I smell Leo nearby.
Does he smell bad?
Well, not necessarily, but you said you wished to speak with him.
Oh, yes, that's right. Do you need any help with this?
Truly, Marley, how do you think an old man like me gets his exercise?
By struggling to see past his face? Methuselah rolls his eyes and scoffs as Marley runs off to go meet Leo. Hey, Leo.
Oh, what's up, Marley? How you doing?
How's everything coming along?
It's going great. Got some of my boys to carve out some of the sections so we can have the food away from the action. Oh, I also made that list with all the kaiju that are allergic to radiation.
I'm so excited, aren't you? Leo stops walking. His long, sharp sword-like nose flits up into the air as he ponders for a while.
Marley, I see what you're trying to do, and I'm okay with it, because I know that in Mothra's absence, she left you in charge of planning festivities to keep the citizens happy, but have you ever thought about, for a while, how chaotic and overwhelming this undertaking is?
Yes, and together, we can
You're not hearing me.
Leo turns to face Marley, almost slicing open her face. What do you mean?
A lot of these kaiju are prejudiced against each other, but a lot of them have good reasons to be. Speaking of radiation, you got a significant percentage of the population of kaiju in the surrounding areas that can literally drop dead if they get within a certain amount of distance from a kaiju who's radioactive. You see what I mean?
Yes, but, we put in those fail-safes.
That's my point I'm trying to make. You can't always depend on that. And sometimes there's a reason why certain people got to stay apart from each other. I know you want everybody to be friends and look happy and be happy and, I get it, but you got some of the mountain predator kaiju that cook and eat a lot of the other jungle kaiju that you're inviting. You see how it can make things very uncomfortable for those species of jungle kaiju? They also put in predators in a situation where they have to ignore their instinct to be tempted the entire time they're there.
Marley hangs her head sadly.
Look, I know you mean well, but this whole thing is not realistic. This is why we've always had the separate regions or locations where we can enjoy the festivities, where everybody can feel safe and happy. And there's a lot of them that got to live out there, in the stress, and this is supposed to be one of the only times where they don't got to worry about that, about being eaten, eaten whole at a party during the holidays, if you know what I mean.
Marley wears a sad face.
Look, I'll still do what you ask, but what you're asking isn't any different than taking your meat-eating pets, that are almost as large as you, and leaving them alone in a room filled with the shit that you feed them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Leo walks off and leaves Marley to reflect on what he said. In the Hollow Earth. Behemoth, Scylla, Marley, and Leo stand shoulder to shoulder in the area that used to be the huge storage room. It's magnificent, remarked Scylla. You guys did amazing.
We all did,
adds Leo in response to Marley. Leo looks on in wonder, looking straight ahead. Scylla looks to her right over at Behemoth, who is on the far end of all of them, and asks, "So, what do you think, Dusky?"
Looks like hot shit to me.
"You don't like it, Behemoth?"
You asked my honest opinion. Looks like you took a parrot or one of them bright-colored jungle birds and turned that shit from the inside out and threw it all over the place.
Behemoth.
And it smells like the end of a tree kaiju's finger after ass play with a pig troll who hasn't taken a nice shit in centuries. Damn, Behemoth, you savage as hell, son. How you gonna do us like that?
Did Methuselah set up everything?
Yeah, they all in there, in the frozen basin.
We should call this place something, instead of just like the storage tavern. Marley thought for a minute as Leo and the others started walking towards the middle of the very large area.
I don't know, call it Eternal Casket or Never-Ending Grave.
Oh, stop it. It will look better when we put up the last of the decorations. I agree. We're leaving all the best for last because they are the prettiest when they're fresh.
Do we have to call it anything? I mean, after we done, isn't it just gonna go back to being the storage tavern or cavern or whatever you call it?
Yeah, well, we barely use it now.
What you talking about? When we find new stuff, we have to set up shop. We do it here.
But it's not the perfect space for it.
Whatever,
says Leo as he continues to admire the decorations that they did set up so far. Hey, let's call it Mirage.
Ain't that already taken?
Let's call it Secret Mirage. Since most of the time it will be a storage or lab, like you say, but I think this one time out of the whole year, it should be what we use to celebrate each other. So Secret Mirage?
Marley, ain't nobody give a damn,
says Leo as he continues laughing and walking towards the center of the area. In the Secret Mirage, Hollow Earth. The time has come, and the merry festivity is at its height. Kaiju of all shapes and sizes, creeds, and cultures migrate to the center of this grand area. The decorations are beautiful, and many of the hanging decorations stretch from one end of the huge cavern all the way to the other. These decorations are made of living animals, gigantic and slender serpentine creatures with many different colors and oscillating feathers and scales. Marley and Leo had arranged for there to be migratory plants placed in this area. The trees were taken from a special location and coaxed out of their substrate. They were then carried here and placed strategically on parts of the walls where they then wrapped their flexible and lifelike roots around the area to plant themselves there temporarily. Special servants had to feed them or mist them round the clock so they would have a reason to stay where they were until it was time to bring them back home. Marley and Scylla were completely taken aback by how beautiful everything was. There were so many kaiju who were obviously very uncomfortable around one another. This behavior stemming from centuries of family feuds. Scylla would intervene and introduce them to each other, or talk to each of them in the group, baiting the conversation until both of the different groups realized that they did have something in common. Marley felt so happy, and wished that Mothra was here to see this. Leo, the knife-head kaiju, gallops over to sit beside Marley, taking a breather. He plops himself down and puts his head back in the seat. Leo, thank you so much for all of this. Isn't it wonderful?
There's a lot of work, that's what it is. Do you understand how difficult it is just to keep them from ripping each other's heads off? God damn.
But look, they're doing it. They're actually getting along. Leo has to admit that things could have been worse, and he's still expecting the worst of it to come. But in this moment, at this time, he sees Marley's vision at work. Suddenly, something comes over him and he doesn't even understand why he says it, but before he can even close his mouth, it spills out.
Marley, you would have made a great queen.
Marley then looks over at Leo and is shocked for a second. She then smiles with a hint of pain in her eyes.
I mean, I know that you are technically a queen, but you know what I mean.
I'm not a queen, Leo. I was supposed to be, but I never got to... I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't know if... I don't know.
Well, what's up?
I don't know if I was a queen, if I'd be able to do all this anyway. Marley looks over at Leo, who doesn't seem to be responding after a while, only to find out that he's fast asleep. Poor thing. Marley takes one of the satin drapes that were on the back of some of the furniture and covers Leo with it and sends him into an even deeper sleep than his drunk state had put him in. On the other end of the secret mirage, a smaller version of Behemoth with larger ears and smaller tusks and a boyish demeanor arrives.
So I jabbed him real good, had him shitting out his face for... Oh, please, excuse me? My prodigal son has arrived.
Behemoth walks away from the mastodons he was entertaining.
My boy! Dad!
Behemoth stops and stands on his back legs so he can embrace the younger kaiju with his front legs. Behemoth has the biggest smile apparently anyone has seen him wear.
Ladies, this is my son, Flynn. Good evening, everyone. Happy festivities.
Why, thank you, dear boy, says Connie, the mastodon female, who was taken a liking to Behemoth. After Behemoth introduces his son to all the females and some of the other kaiju nearest to them, doing so with the utmost pride, Flynn leans into his father and whispers,
Connie's totally into you. Oh, I know, but I'm making her work for it.
Wow. Marley walks up excitedly to Behemoth and his offspring. Oh, wow! You two look so alike!
Well, you don't say. I wonder what could ever be the reason for that.
Quips Behemoth.
Dad.
Oh my... You're his... What? Behemoth, I didn't know you were a father!
Girl, you think I lived as long as I have and not popped out nothing?
Well, it's just that you never talked about him. I never heard you mention him once.
Well, thanks, Dad. It was impertinent to the conversation I was having.
Yeah, but most parents I know brag about their kids, or at least let people know they have them.
Yeah, Dad. Shh, why? He ain't nothing to brag about. Please, I ain't wasting my breath.
Behemoth sees old Methuselah serving kaiju food.
Flynn, come meet my friend.
It was nice to meet you, Flynn.
You too, ma'am.
It's Marley.
It's a pretty name.
Thank you. Marley blushes. Flynn seems a little younger than her, but he is very attractive. Behemoth must be so proud. Marley does a double take when she realizes that somebody that she did not expect to come has shown up to the party. Kong. Oh my god. Scylla intercepts Marley. Do you see him? Yes, I didn't expect him to come. Go to him. Kong is carrying some wrapped box and looking quite awkward. Marley cuts through everyone and waves to get Kong's attention. Kong smiles when he sees her and waves back while making his way to her. Kong! She hugs him and he lets her, still holding the box with two hands awkwardly. A gift? Is it for Mothra?
Well, yeah.
Come with me! We put all the gifts under that big flower trap bush.
Oh, I've seen those. That doesn't seem very safe.
It's a tradition. It's so nice to see you.
Thanks, you too.
A loud booming voice sounds off, which gets everyone's attention. An elegant Arctic blue crane kaiju occupies a podium on the second level, overlooking the main space where everyone gathers. She takes it all in for a moment. The decorations, the lights, the kaiju adorned in what looks like rich scales of other kaiju. Ones they probably had slain to obtain them. Happy festivities, my friends. Happy festivities! Kong leans into Marley.
She's pretty.
Marley smiles while looking at the crane kaiju named Rowan. I am glad you are having a wonderful time. It is time for the main event. If you all would follow our usher through this tunnel here, you will be escorted to the bison to see the show. Kong, still standing beside Marley, looks perplexed. It is at that moment that he takes the time to look behind him and around the area. Some of the creatures that he sees are so large that he thought that they were part of the environment. He sees vegetation he never thought possible to exist. He sees some creatures from the hollow earth that look like the stuff of nightmares, and others that have such scintillating beauty that he wonders if they are actually flowers or plants. Kong, come on!
Wait, what's going on?
We're gonna go see the show! It's gonna be amazing!
I just really came here to drop off the package. I figured Mothra would be back by now.
Well, she's taking care of things with Godzilla and Rodan. Kong shifts his weight as he prepares to be ushered through the tunnel with hundreds of other kaiju, who are all talking loudly in unison. The ape kaiju scratches the back of his head.
I don't know, it just doesn't seem right having the celebration without her.
We still have the main celebration, but this one is just different, just special. It's separate from that. It's not replacing it. At least not really. Kong stops for a moment, causing the lobster kaiju to collide behind him. The lobster kaiju is annoyed and tries to get around Kong, but it's so packed.
Does Godzilla not know that the celebration is happening?
Marley rubs two of her feet together like a fly. No, well, I mean...
Oh my god. Don't you think he'll find out when he comes back, or maybe even before that?
festivity celebration that big doesn't go unnoticed, especially when a lot of kaiju are headed for this territory, or at least the center of it.
People don't know. I mean, they don't know that we're all coming here directly here.
Are you kidding? I'm not even a part of your everyday life, and I don't live directly next to you guys, and I still hear about big events that are happening. I'm almost certainly sure that he's gonna find out about this, if he doesn't already know.
Marley feels as though she's swallowing so hard her face is going to implode. She was so concerned about bringing all the kaiju together that she never considered really whether or not Godzilla would be pissed. Or pleased. Godzilla already made a threat to her a while back that when the time is right, he would end her life. He's fiercely prejudiced against her kind. And so far, no matter what she's done to prove that she's on his side, every time she walks past him, and she looks over and sees him, he stops everything he's doing to glare at her, as though he wants to hunt and eat her. It makes her feel as though he's burning an imaginary stream of nuclear breath through her face. Kong happens to look at Marley after having said this. He immediately stops walking again, causing the lobster kaiju directly behind him to once again collide into his lower back, aka his ass.
Wait, are you afraid of them? Did he— Ow!
The lobster kaiju points towards a tunnel wherever the kaiju is making their way after pinching Kong.
Oh, my bad.
Kong keeps walking. All the kaiju go through the tunnel and end up somewhere on the surface of the earth, but somehow not directly on the surface. Marley and Kong look up and see the night sky filled with stars and other celestial bodies that normal human beings or other animals much smaller than them would not be able to see. Marley can see far more than even Kong can. Her eyes have been developed to see certain wavelengths that most mammalian kaiju are unable to. Where they stand is a very huge clearing, the ground filled with silky grass and strange glowing mushrooms, some short, some tall. Some weird growths sway in the wind, but are not exactly plants. Marley has never seen anything like this. She's heard about this area, but has never really been here, and she takes it all in with a shiver in her breath. This clearing is basically a basin with very tall, rocky walls. Even Kong would have some trouble climbing up these walls that tower over him. It would take 11 Kongs stacked on top of each other to reach the lip of this basin, and truly be on the surface of the earth. The slope of the basin is so sharp and steep that anyone up top who would accidentally slip wouldn't slide down to the bottom, but just merely fall straight in. As a matter of fact, the basin is so deep and angled so sharply that it's shaped more like a cup than a basin. Any other creature on the surface would probably not even detect it unless they are directly above it. A lot of the kaiju didn't even notice that the serpentine kaiju that had been using themselves as part of the decoration for the secret Mirage Hall had made their exit a while back. Now, all 15 of them are in the sky, joined by 6 other immense ones that came from God knows where. Bearing a striking resemblance to Chinese dragons, these sneaky and wiry creatures are filled with feathers and hair that are bioluminescent and seem to glow naturally in the dark. They are the main event. Flynn joins Kong and Marley.
Hey guys.
Flynn!
I was looking for you earlier.
Flynn, this is Kong.
Yeah, hey, you're the one I actually wanted to meet. Oh? Yeah, you're the guy that fought Godzilla. Yeah.
Other kaiju are stepping over and sliding past Marley and Kong. The poor lobster kaiju is still stuck behind the large ape, getting exceedingly anxious and frustrated.
That's badass, man. Not a lot of people would dare take on Godzilla.
Kong smiles humbly at this, completely taken aback at this compliment. For a moment, he thought the kid was going to rail on him for losing so badly. Kong had no idea that a single soul thought that way about him. Wow. Are things really that bad that nobody stands up to Godzilla at all? Kong remembers that night. He relives it time and time again, as though it was just from yesterday. He remembers lying on his back, trying to get away, only to have a huge dragon creature that had the power to blast a river of potent nuclear energy chomping down at his bits. Kong shivers a bit, and this shiver translates over to Marley. Ooh, that was weird.
Sorry.
Are you cold?
I'm okay now.
Kong at this moment realizes that his breathing had been elevated. Does he have PTSD? Did he seriously just have a mild panic attack in the midst of a sea of kaiju who are now looking up at the sky completely oblivious to the fact he almost had a breakdown? Kong, this is the best part of the whole party. I mean, there are more events, but here we go! Smiles and tries to live in the moment, looking up at the sky at the serpentine kaiju lined up and start to slowly open their manes. Using their tails expertly, they position themselves in a circle directly above the sea of kaiju lining the basin. Marley opens her mouth in amazement at the ring of serpentine kaiju above, every other kaiju taking turns opening their manes and then closing them. The first half of the show consisted of the serpentine kaiju utilizing their bodies to make beautiful shapes in the sky.
And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on.
The serpentine kaiju make kaleidoscopes out of the oscillating lights of their scales and the shapes their bodies make. It was amazing to see how these kaiju were able to light up the individual scales on their bodies, as well as the individual feathers, which sometimes they peeled backwards to make another color or shape so that these creatures could fold themselves and contort themselves into shapes that made them appear as completely different species, walking and seeming to run in the sky. For the last act, all of them came together alongside the larger versions of themselves to make a massive creature that shot out fireballs and light beams, each of them coming from the mouth of the smaller ones, of course.
No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways.
Then there was a crescendo at the very end of the show. The larger serpentine creatures blasted out rivers of light from their mouths, and as they came down hurtling like a meteor towards the kaiju on the bottom, the audience going ooh and ah, and some getting even a little worried, wondering whether the kaiju were going to crash into them. They broke up formation so that they were all individual kaiju again, and twirled their bodies all over the basin, lighting up the entire area so it was like daytime. They were living, breathing fireworks, and they shot out coils and feathers from their bodies that kept changing colors and lighting up, even though they were separated from their owners. It was so extremely beautiful that it made the kaiju quiet to tears. Many of them were holding each other, and so many of the creatures that had been in feuds and had been battling each other or held prejudice were all sharing smiles with each other, standing side by side. Then all the serpentine creatures landed on the lip of the basin, directly in front of all the kaiju. Everyone cheered, roared, stomped, or clapped depending on which appendages they possessed. On the lip of the basin, they started doing their finale. Kong raises his hands and cheers. The lobster kaiju, who had been behind him this entire time, finally gets fed up with the whole thing and uses one of his 4 pincers to clamp down on Kong's upper thigh.
The fuck out of the way! I can't see, motherfucker!
After the show is over, Rowan, the speaker, tells the ushers to guide everyone back to the main room and towards another tunnel.
That was amazing, Morley!
Wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't even know there were kaiju that could do that. Like, the way that they twist their bodies. Did you see how the feathers just opened up and then it looked like it was a completely different creature?
Must have taken them a long time to get that done. Like, I wonder how long the rehearsing took.
I heard that part of their whole tradition is doing those dances. So a lot of those dances that they're doing is actually passed down from many generations.
That's tight, man.
Says Flynn. Behemoth is waving his very long tusks in the distance, beckoning to his son.
The last act? I was not expecting that.
Boy, get your hairy ass over here. You only visit me every few years, and you think I invited you here so you can spend time with Monkey and the Roach.
Roach?
He means you.
Marley side glances at Kong. I know.
Alright. See, guys, that was awesome. Trying to hog my boy. Get your own, Marley. Oh, wait, I forgot. You can't.
Behemoth!
That's cold.
For the next event, many of the kaiju stay in the middle of the secret mirage, while all the others head through a tunnel that leads to an even bigger tunnel. Down that larger tunnel is an elegant and massive carved-out cavern. What makes this cavern so special is that the walls on either side are see-through, as well as the ceiling. On the other side of these barriers is a whole other world. Strange, transparent, and amorphous entities glide like ghosts all around the kaiju. Kong stares in amazement. The area is so chill and serene that the chatter, in unison, decreases in decibel seemingly all at once, as though every kaiju in the vicinity understands the need for reverence and silence. Leo finds Marley and Kong. He runs his hand over the back of his oddly shaped head.
Oh, hey, Knife Fight.
What you call me?
His name is Leo.
Man, I was asked out.
I don't blame you, answers Marley. Did you miss the entire Firelight show?
Nah, I came in at the last quarter of it.
That sucks.
I've seen it before.
Yeah, but I heard every year is different. I've never seen anything like this. It was...
I know.
Leo, Marley, and Kong all fall silent as they look through one of the walls on the other side at the swimming and gliding creatures.
How did you do this? Like, what is this place?
Leo smiles, always eager to add to the entertainment by talking about the discovery process.
Well, furry man, me and some other digger kaiju were opening up around this area and we found a membrane, but it was weird because, like, it seemed that those membrane was a part of the rock wall. You know what I mean?
No.
Well, in other cases, usually, when we're exploring other worlds or passages to these other worlds, you can feel the pressure and the power, and you can usually cut through to find the opening to the other side. However, with this...
Leo looks up at the transparent ceiling, and then behind him to the other side where there is also a transparent wall, the surfaces of all of them being uneven and rock-like, as they are still technically rock.
It seems as though the membrane is one with the earth. If we were to cut straight through, we would lose it.
So you mean if we cut through and dig to the other side, we wouldn't be in that world?
Yep. It's kind of like a looking glass. It's there, so it's so close, but the portal's so thin, so it's impossible to get to unless you either make yourself that thin or find another special way to get to it.
So is it even a membrane? How do we know it's even real? What we're seeing on the other side?
Oh, it's real. It's real. I can attest to that based on my unfortunate experience.
A bright red kaiju with 4 thick legs and 6 arms on the top of its body with its head in the middle walks around the crowd with trays in every single one of its hands, serving cocktails. Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Marley, a few moments later, had to find a corner for herself. She wanted to go back to happy times, when she was planning this whole event, seeing everyone's faces, and how wonderful everyone enjoyed themselves. Many told her that this wouldn't happen, and it was such a success. More so, she wishes that Mothra was here.
Hey, Marley.
Leo calls out.
Your monkey friend left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Leo stretches.
My ass is tired as hell. I'ma hit my bed. I don't want to hear nobody calling my name till the week is gone.
Completely understood, Marley says, laughing. Scylla, nearby, waves a leg. Thank you, Leo.
Mm-hmm. I mean it. Don't talk to me about shit.
Later that night, when the secret mirage is almost totally cleaned out, Marley sits with Methuselah as he is packing up his plates and tools. She helps him.
Oh, wasn't it just lovely?
Oh yes, it was so beautiful seeing everybody together.
You did a good thing, Marley. It is wonderful to know that in your heart you still find the beauty in people.
Don't you? Methuselah sighs and stretches out his old rocky bones.
Oh, and you have lived as long as I have, and you have seen everything. You start to forget. You forget there's still innocence, even if you see it every day. Merry festivities, Marley.
Methuselah pulls out a huge log carved into a rectangle. Smiling in surprise, Marley opens it. Methuselah! Oh, I didn't even get anything for you!
I did not get this, that you would have to get something for me. I have lived so long, I have everything I have ever wanted, and I realize that most of it is not even necessary. I require and want very little in this life.
Marley uses her beak to pry open the gift. Inside it, folded up, is what looks like a set of wings. Or sets of wings. They're sleek and dark in color, but also translucent. Marley picks up the end of them, realizing just how large they are and how much more they can unfold. Marley looks at them, and before looking up, Methuselah says to her,
Marley, I know you think you have no family, but we are your family now. I know that you know that, Marley. However, I also know that there are parts of you that long for connection with your own kind. These wings are the wings of your ancient ancestor, back when females of your species could also fly, back when you were so much larger than what you have become.
Methuselah,
Your kind used to be so large that they filled the skies, Marley.
Marley choked on a sob, feeling a deep connection via the energy surging from the wings.
Trust me, they're much larger than they appear, and when you get to a spot when you can open them, oh, you will be surprised to find that they are even a larger span than even that of Mothra's. These were the wings of a true queen.
Methuselah. Marley cries and throws her front legs around Methuselah's neck in a hug. Thank you. On the surface of the earth, on the icy continent, Behemoth walks alongside his son and introduces him to the herd of Mastodon, Connie and her two friends also there. As Behemoth's son Flynn vivaciously speaks with the other kaiju, Behemoth's heart swells with pride. There's no greater gift in this life for him than looking at his offspring and realizing that his life will be eternal through that of his sons and his grandchildren. Life is beautiful, and even with all the differences all the kaiju kind possess, the one thing most have in common is that they are alive, and they know and understand the value of life, wanting nothing more than to pass it on or to leave a legacy for which they can be remembered, where life can continue to thrive and be celebrated, whether it be to create something that will benefit all for the rest of time, or birthing little beings with their eyes and their noses and their claws. Flynn's eyes light up with every word he says. As Behemoth watches his son, the wind blows his hair over his eyes as tears flow down his cheeks. Despite his carefree nature and stoicism, nothing has brought him more joy than watching his boy, all grown, before him bringing laughter to those around him. Behemoth turns and walks away. Flynn sees and runs towards his dad.
Dad, where are you going? Nowhere, get off of me. Dad, what's up? You okay?
Behemoth turns to his son, trying to hold back tears.
Listen to me, boy. Dad, what's wrong? I know we don't see each other all the time, and There's gonna come a time I ain't gonna be around. What are you talking about? Shut up and listen. What I'm trying to say is, be a good person and I'm proud of you. And I'll
Flynn's eyes tear up.
I love you, Dad. I love you, son. Oh, come here, Pops.
Flynn hugs his dad. In the air, through the icy wind, above the level of no visibility, soars a serpentine creature with a bright blue mane. And higher still, hundreds of others silently gliding on the wind back to their home.